When I was growing up, I had a view of the world, or maybe I had a view of the end times, that said that God was going to come back and just destroy everything, and so it really didn't make any difference how we treated this world or what was going on in this world. The only thing that really counted was the afterlife. And I guess through the years, my perspective on all this has changed a little bit. I see now part of our role is not only that we want to go to heaven, but also that we want to try to make God's will happen on earth as it does in heaven. And so one of the things we do now is we care about the world we live in. We know that God is even going to redeem the creation in which we live, according to Romans chapter 8. That God is about the task of making things right in all of creation. That at the cross and at the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that was the beginning of change that would change everything forever. And so one of our roles and responsibilities as Christians then is to try to discover ways that God is making things right now and join Him in that process. And so we do care about our world, and we care about people, and we care about people not just their spiritual natures, but also the physical natures that they have. This morning is a great example of that type of a joining of God in the ministry, in a ministry to make things right in the lives of people. Because you're going to have two speakers tonight. First is Earl Young. Back in 2015, I think Earl was one of the first speakers we invited to come into our church family here and share with us his story. Earl is a 1960 Olympian, a gold medal winner in the 4x400 meter relay. They set a world record, his team, of 3 minutes, 2 seconds, 2 2/10 seconds. And Earl was an ACU kid at the time. At the 1963 Pan American Games, and I didn't know this, Earl, you won gold medals in both the 4x100 meter relay and the 4x400 meter relay, right? He was inducted into the Texas Track and Field Coaches Hall of Fame in 2015 as well. But he's got a story to tell about, not about his Olympic experiences, but he does have his gold medal, and he'll let you hold it if you want to. He'll have to hang on to it, because. We're pleased that Earl is with us, and we're going to also have, at the time in 2015, we swabbed people's cheeks and we asked them to be involved in maybe being a donor for blood cancer, and Earl's going to tell a story. Well, it turned out there were a couple of members of our church that actually did qualify to do that, and one could not continue with it because of some medical things, but one that did is Luke Perkins. And Luke Perkins was able to donate to help save someone's life from blood cancer. And so what we wanted to do today is to bring Earl back and let him talk about, talk briefly about his experiences, but then Luke is also going to talk and maybe demystify this process a little bit so that we all won't be quite as scared to volunteer to do something like this. Make a profound difference, to do good in the name of Jesus Christ. Earl, come on up.
Thank you, David. Wow, I get the picture up there. I will tell you all that picture on the left-hand side, to me, my mom and dad, is my favorite picture of all time. And since that's up there, I'll go on with this and say that I'm one of those fortunate people that understands what a father, an awesome father is. I know all men and women don't get blessed with that. I hope you did. Those two people were by me from the day I was born. Matter of fact, that man said about me the day I was born, he told the doctor, "There's my quarter miler." And it's the only known prophecy that he succeeded in. But yeah, Dad did say that. Mom, I just lost last year at age 101. And that picture was taken when they presented us with our medals in the stadium. we would then walk out through a tunnel into a smaller stadium, and they were waiting for me when I walked out. Yeah, great memories. Thank you for flashing those up there. I said to the first service, and I want to repeat it to you all because it is so meaningful to me. I love to call our Father Abba. I love to talk to him about putting a smile on his face, and that's what I want my life to do, is put a smile on his face. And it put a smile on my face, and I hope it did yours, and I hope it does every week when you see those little ones come up here. Because you and I both know, we know that the Father smiles when he sees that. You think that doesn't tickle him to see those little ones come up? I could see enthusiasm on faces big time. I could see a couple that wanted to see just how much was in there, and wow, look at that. Now that's a great tradition, a great thing to do, and something they will remember all their lives. And I'll remember it all my life. As David said, in 1960 in Rome, Italy, and this has traveled all over the world with me, folks. It's made to travel. Excuse me, can't live without those mints. It's hung around the necks of presidents, prime ministers in Africa, little kids in the Congo. It's traveled well. It's fun, as you can imagine. At age 19, it changes your life. You're now EARL Young, the Olympian. And Marines in here know what that means. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Once an Olympian. Some people try to introduce as an ex-Olympian. You can't be an ex-Olympian. Once you earn that title, it's yours. So I am an Olympian and quite proud of it. And let me add to that my life's been full of blessings. Some of them I didn't recognize. Some of them I have. Maybe not smart enough at some time to recognize them. Hope I'm smarter now. One thing I do know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the day I was born, my first gift was this awesome body. I get a kick out of university chapel services. They usually, when I say awesome, they go, ha, ha, ha. I don't mean it that way. I mean, God gave me an awesome body. And he made it fast, just like Eric Little said about his body in Chariots of Fire. There must be a purpose behind it. Now that's mine. I won it with the gift that the Father gave me. So I performed, just like when you buy your kid his first bicycle and he learns to ride it, remember the thrill? Hey, learn to ride that gift that I gave him. There's a phrase, too, that I'll give credit to a fellow named Steve Prefontaine for, and that is to not do your best. Hear me now. You kids, listen to this. To not do your best is to sacrifice the gift. No accident that you have a gift. It's on purpose. Our God is a God of purpose. So those gifts, put an S on it because you don't get just one, you get many. Second two gifts the day I was born, you see a picture of right up there. I got this body and those two people as parents. Man, I started off so blessed, so awesomely blessed. I want to tell you about September 16th, 2011, when I had this little cough, this little sniffle I couldn't seem to shake off. We were traveling around the country, starting a new company, working pretty hard, keeping a tight schedule. I thought, I can't shake this off. And normally in Dallas, you get something like that in the summertime. You'll probably do down here too. A little allergy, and you just work on through it. This one seemed a little different. So I thought I'd go get a shot, get a pill, whatever. Made an appointment with my doctor, went in there just before lunch, sat down with him to talk a little bit, and he's looking at his file, and he says, "Earl," he said, "you haven't been in here in 4 years." I said, "Hey, healthy." He said, "I know." But he said, when you get over 65, you need to let me do a physical every year and stay on top of it. Well, okay, you have time today? Yeah, sure. So I go back and go through the drill. I'm getting ready to leave, walking down the hall. He's walking up the hall. He said, "Oh, I'm glad you haven't left." He said, "Come in my office. I was just getting ready to call you." So I'm sitting down across from him for the second time, and he says, "You don't feel bad?" I said, "No." Now looking back, I realized I was not at par, but I thought it was because I was working out with the Highland Park track team and kind of had myself run down. But he said, well, you should. He said, your white factory is shut down, and you're way low on whites. Okay, I'm thinking he's setting me up for more shots than I'd planned. So I said, well, what do we do? He said, well, I just called across the street to Texas Oncology. I want you to take this file. A doctor will meet you at the door. Okay. So I go across the street, Texas Oncology. Sure enough, there's a doctor meets me at the door. I hand him the file. He looks at that and he said, Mr. Young, this is not good. He said, we need to do a bone marrow biopsy. Do you have time? Sure. Now, right here begins a whole new life for me, a whole new education. I know nothing about what's going to be learned in the immediate future. And I said, sure. So I go back in the procedure room, sticks a needle in the hip, takes some fluid out, I go and wait in the waiting room a while. He comes out and gets me, sitting down for the second time that day across from a white coat. And this time he says, Mr. Young, I have some bad news. He said, you have acute myeloid leukemia. Do you know anything about that? And I said, I know you don't want the word leukemia tied with your name. He said, that's right. He said, let me explain to you. He takes me through a few of the blood cancers. There's 70 different blood cancers involved in leukemia, melanoma, lymphoma. And he describes it a bit, and then he said, and you have the worst. Well, I guess I've watched enough TV to know the next question. I said, how long do I have? He said, maybe 3 months. Wow. I got up that morning just like you did. Maybe had a cup of coffee, a roll, went off to work, went to my doctor's office for an appointment thinking I'm going to get a shot. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a doctor tells me I'm going to be dead in 3 months. His bedside manner was a little better than that, but that's what it meant. He's looking at the file and he said, I'm sitting here looking at you, and he said, this says you're 70. But he said, I can tell by looking at you, you're not 70. He said, you've got some good genes. Well, I just told you about those. And he said, not only that, he said, you're in good health. And that, yeah, I'm in good health, nothing wrong with the body except leukemia is killing me. So, but what he was saying was all there's no stents, the organs are all good, and I was a healthy 70-year-old. He said, because of that, we may, pick out that may, because I didn't hear him say may, we may be able to get you a bone marrow transplant. I didn't know that only 4 out of 10 people find a match to get continued life. 4 out of 10. 6 people who need a match today aren't going to find that match. All those people woke up this morning like you did, that these folks are scared. They're sick. They're in the hospital. They may or may not have already started their chemo. And only 4 of them are going to find a match for continued life. Why? Because most people don't know. Don't know that all they have to do is swab like we're doing out here today and put that on file. 2 weeks before I was diagnosed in Offenburg, Germany, a lady named Christine Wag became a bone marrow donor. The good thing about that is Christine was the only match in the National Registry for me. If Christine had not become a bone marrow donor, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. Does that resonate with every one of you, I hope? About your importance? About maybe people you know about it being important? We need bone marrow donors. We need them from this audience. We need you to go to your company and say we need to have a bone marrow drive. I don't usually say this, but I'm going to today because it's been on my mind. In the 25th chapter of Matthew, David, we talk about the sheep and the goats. Let's get this down to where the rubber hits the road, okay? We know how we're supposed to live. And we know, and he says, well, how do you know I did anything for you, Father? Well, you gave me drink, you gave me clothes, you gave me food. And so I know whether you're a sheep or a goat. And then it goes on and says, and you didn't give me drink, and you didn't give me food, and you didn't clothe me, and you didn't become a bone marrow donor. Wow, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? And I mean it to be heavy because we're all believers, we're all Christians. Let's talk about it, like I said, where the rubber hits the road. He didn't suggest that we help our fellow man. He said that when Your neighbor's in need, you help them now. You don't tell them to come back tomorrow when it's more convenient. Folks, I've been lukewarm in my life. I'm blessed now because there's a great verse in Psalms that until I was afflicted, I went astray. And now I follow the word. You're looking at someone that can quote that and mean it 100%. This illness brought me to a new life, not just physically. This illness brought me to a new spiritual life. I talked to many people. I was talking to a lady a while ago with melanoma that talk just that way. It takes a little adversity to wake you up sometimes. Thank you, God, for that adversity. But it also gave me an opportunity to serve. So we started 3 years ago, Earl Young's team. I teamed up with Dkms, the largest organization, oldest organization. They've been swabbing since the 1990s, started in Germany. And we go to universities and to congregations and tell the story just like I'm telling you all today. We swab. We've done that with nearly 11,000 people now that have swabbed. We have number 27 is sitting down here in a red shirt as far as how many lives we've saved, and Luke will tell you about that in a minute. But 27 people that have come out of that 11,000 so far, and there'll be a lot more. We've been working on this now for 3 years with the idea always in mind, how could we get this across the nation in a sustaining way? And I'll tell you that we finally got a breakthrough, and this will happen in the fall. The sustaining way is to have a drive every year at a university when those freshmen are coming in, those 18-year-olds, those fresh cells coming in that the oncologists just love to see, love to get a hold of. Those are the great cells. My Christine was 43, and I'll take it. But I'd prefer she'd have been 23. That'd have been greater. But I'll take that 43. Let me tell you something else that's interesting. I'll come back to that. You know, it's Christine that runs my body now. When I had that bone marrow transplant from Christine, where they put a needle here, hang a bag of her cells, they brought over from Frankfurt the same day, into me, it flows into me, and Christine gave me life. If you check my blood now, I'm no longer B male. I am O female. She's got this body under her control, guys. She's doing a heck of a job. Doing a heck of a job. I have to share the metaphor there with you. Big metaphor for me, I always share. Just the way Christine flowed into me and gives me life, keeps my life running, that's the way our Christ comes into our lives, doesn't he? When we accept Jesus as our Savior and let him come over and follow his word, follow what he says to do, and not be lukewarm and not pass up opportunities. It's a short time here, folks, with an awesome reward. You're here and then eternal life. Come on. Get excited about it. Eat it up. You got a God that loves you. Wow. Loved you so much he created with you and put up with all this stuff during all these years, kept forgiving you, and promised you a home with him in heaven. Wow. Can you think of anything greater? This organization I was telling you about, we've got McKesson, we've got Hospital Corp of America, Texas Oncology, U.S. Oncology, all teaming together to put up money for grants. And we will give grants to Texas nursing schools who are part of the National Student Nursing Association, about 96 of them, based on how well they do in a bone marrow drive. And here's the great thing. Those nurses, my favorite people, love you military folks, thank God for you. But nurses are right up there with that crowd. And we're on our way to having 1 million nurse shortage in 5 years, so think about that too. So we're going to be giving grants to these nursing schools based on their production of bone marrow donors out of their university. And that's every year. It's sustaining. We don't have to go back. The nursing school drives it every year, so we keep bringing those 18, 20-year-old cells in. And finally, this country can develop a way to have a sustaining program. Will it go national? It should go national. We're going to do all we can to make it go national. There's some big corporations, big health corporations that like the idea. So I share that with you only that I came into this with a dream 3 years ago. I was speaking at a dinner one night. They're raising funds for a private school. And a lady came up to me afterwards and introduced herself, and she said, "Could I pray for you?" You ever had that happen, folks? It's the first time it ever happened to me. It's really something. And she said, "Could I pray for you?" And she did. I said, "Of course. Somebody pray for me? You bet." And she prayed for me. And she said, "Now I have a message for you. Your dream is going to come true. It's going to be bigger than you thought." There was a time in my life I would have gone, not anymore. You think he doesn't talk to you? You think he doesn't give us messages? How conservative do you want to be? Open up, folks. God's real. He'll talk to you anytime you want to talk to him. He'll answer you. Might just be the word. It might be another person. It's all real. Don't doubt it. Reach out and grab it. It's free. Get to preaching, don't I? Hey, I know you know Luke, and I want to turn this over to him. Luke, you'll never know. You know I appreciate, and you know the words say I appreciate. There's someone right now in this world, a 71-year-old lady actually, who appreciates more than you can imagine. And I hope one day, right on this stand, David, that you get to meet her for the first time in front of what I hope is a combined service. Crowd all the people in here and let them see what it's like for a person who has a life given back to them to meet the person that gave their life to them. And we're not asking you to jump in a foxhole, not asking you to run to a burning house, just asking you to swab and put that on file. Luke, come up and tell us about being a donor.
Oh, he left the medal up here. I'm tempted. I mean, so my name's Luke. I'm a blood stem cell donor. So I did this registry back in 2015 when they were here at Northside. I registered. I did the cheek swab, and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I didn't hear anything, and I didn't ever expect to hear anything until August of this last year, 2017. So 2 years passed. And, the email came through and it said in the subject line, "Luke, you're a match," like I just, like you win everything, via emails. And so, I opened it and I was like, this is for real. And I was like, oh, bone marrow donation. Is that like where they drill in your hip or something and, it hurts a lot? So I'm here to kind of tell you my experience and that it is not painful. And it's a sacrifice every one of you here can make. I mean, even if they did drill in your hip, that's a sacrifice all of us can make. But so I'll get more into that as the story goes on. But I was nervous, and immediately I got paired with a Dkms representative who was very active in calling me and making sure that I was okay with consenting to continue to go forward. I filled out a lot of paperwork. I got a lot of information. And what I learned very quickly is the most popular method of donation of bone marrow cells is actually through a method called PBSC. And it is very similar to donating blood or platelets. It all comes through your veins. So that put me at ease. All right, I can do a needle. No surgery, no anesthesia. And that's really as easy as it is. 75%. If you're picked here, 75% of those procedures are going to be through your blood. So I filled out lots of paperwork over the next 4 months. I had to go, get a physical, get blood drawn. I got stuck with a lot of needles. So I used to be afraid of needles, not anymore. So if you do this, you'll be able to get over that pretty quickly too. So for the 4 days leading up to the donation, they set a donation date for January. They were injecting me with a medicine that was, I guess, doping my stem cells, making my stem cell production go up because they were going to harvest them 4 days from then. The nurse who was injecting the medicine didn't know exactly what it is, but she said, I think maybe this is what Lance Armstrong was using It wasn't. I tried. I wouldn't try it. Never mind. I tried to dunk a basketball. I didn't have superpowers, so it wasn't the same thing. A little bit of soreness as my stem cell production kind of increased. But guys, the donation day was really easy. I've got a picture that actually I think is on the next slide. That's how many cells came out. So they put me in a recliner chair, and for 6 hours I got to play on my laptop while blood came out of my left arm. It filtered in a machine and it came right back in my right arm. Very painless procedure. Guys, this is a tiny sacrifice compared to the benefit that small bag of cells is going to provide to somebody. I don't get to find out about this person until next January. So there's a 1 year kind of time period that make you wait. But what I do know is that, as I told Earl, it is a 71-year-old woman with leukemia. And I hope and pray that my little bag of cells was able to save her life and able to help her. And I hope I get to meet her someday. So I guess what I'm up here trying to tell you guys is it's not scary. If you have any more questions, you can ask me about it. I want everybody to go get on the registry. Again, it's a small sacrifice that I think all of us should be willing to take. It's and you know, I was the one who got chosen out of the large batch of people that we put on the registry back in 2015. But it wasn't just about me, guys. This was a team effort. We did this together. You know, I never knew I was going to be the one picked, and none of you will as you go and register. But it's about getting as many names on the list as possible. This is something that if we get enough people, maybe we'll have another person be able to donate. Maybe there will be two. But what I know about our God is He's a God that has 99 sheep, but He rejoices so much when He's able to save that one sheep. So let's have that attitude today. As God is trying to pour His healing into this world, let's participate in that. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I hope you all participate in the bone marrow drive today. I'm going to end with the words of the prophet Isaiah, and he says in chapter 6, I heard the Lord asking, whom should I send as a messenger to His people? And who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. And I want all of us to have that attitude this morning. Thanks.
Jesus says even a cup of cold water given in His name makes a difference and is something we should pursue. So what do you do? Next steps. Number one, you need to be praying. Pray for people who have blood cancer. Pray for those of us, the people among us who can be swabbed and can contribute in that way and help save someone's life. 2 people's lives have been saved because of this. And as Earl said, it's the 6 out of 10. It's not because they can't get treatment. It's because they can't identify donors. So only 4 out of 10 because we're not doing it. We're not aware. We're not moving forward. So pray for that. Also, get swabbed. Now, you can get swabbed if you're 18 to 55, right, Earl? It's 18 to 55 is the age bracket. If you're like me and you just barely are outside of that age range, then you can give. And I want to challenge you. I gave $100 this morning. And if you're a more seasoned citizen, I want to challenge you, or if you can't get swabbed or prefer not to, I want to challenge you to give at least that amount this morning. It takes $65 to register everybody who's here that ends up getting swabbed. It costs Dkms $65 to do that. That's a small sacrifice that we can make. It's tax deductible, check, cash, credit card. 100% of the money goes to registered donors. This is a small thing we as kingdom people can do to bless someone else. Now, they may not find out immediately that the reason we did this was because of Jesus Christ, but they may very well find that out later. And so we have an opportunity, and I hope you'll take advantage of that.